In this video, we'll see how we can use joints and skinning in order to deform smooth continuous geometry like this little capsule that we have created here. So I'm going to hop over to my front view so that I can create some joints to go inside of this. And actually, first thing I'm going to do is select this object here, and I'm going to zero out the transforms on it so it's right in the middle of space here. And then I'm going to go up and grab my joint tool here, and I'm going to click a joint up at the top, a joint down in the middle, and then a joint down at the bottom of this. So I've got a really simple object hierarchy here, so just straight down from top to bottom. Okay, and what I'm going to do also is I'm going to take the scale on each of these, and I'm just going to even them out to 1 so that I get something that's a little easier to see here. Now, I don't necessarily have to have these on top of the geometry or larger, because when I'm working with these deforming the geometry, I have the option of going in here, and in my shaded view, I can go to shading and then X-ray joints, then I can see the joints on the inside no matter what else is going on. Now what I want to do is take the joint system here and create a relationship between that and the subdivided object, the little cylinder here. So I'm going to select both objects, so I click on the joints and then shift click on the object and then go to skin, bind skin. You can see that there are 3 different kinds of skin binding that you can do here. You can do smooth bind, which is what we'll use here, and it just takes the individual joints and creates a smooth interpolation between them across the surface of the object. There's also rigid bind, which gives you a more solidified bind between, so that there's less bendiness between them. And then there's the interactive bind skin, which allows you to go in and gives you 3-dimensional capsules that control the scaling of the fall off between the individual joints on a more interactive level. So for now, I'm just going to choose smooth bind, and just so you can see some of the options you have, we'll go to the option box here, and you can bind it to joint hierarchy, or if you have individual pieces, you can select to bind them by selected joints. If you just want to bind, say, an arm to the joints in an arm, you can do that, or to the entire object hierarchy. And I'm going to just bind this to the joint hierarchy, so we'll choose that. Now, there are several bind methods to choose here, and the newest one is the heat map method. In this kind of a circumstance, most of these are going to work just fine. The heat map, however, is going to work very well if you have multi-limbed rigs. So something like if you're binding the skinning of a character model to a more complex joint system, this heat map is going to be very useful, because it will actually look at the geometry and consider the hierarchy or the implied hierarchy of the geometry. So if you have 2 legs next to each other and then 2 joints that go down those legs, it's going to look and kind of traverse that hierarchy in order to give you a cleaner bind between there. So I'm just going to choose the heat map for now, and any one of these, like I said, would be fine for this. And then you can choose the different types of skinning, the way that it will blend between those joints, and we can just use classic linear at this point. That will be fine. And then there are some other options here for how many joints any individual point can be bound to, how quickly the joints fall off, and that kind of thing. So I'm just going to go ahead and click bind skin, and you'll see that the skin now, or the object rather, turned purple in my wireframe views. And so if I take my skeleton here and I rotate one piece, you can see that that now is rotating the entire object. I can use the up and down arrows to traverse the hierarchy of the joints, so I can go use the down arrow to go down one, and you can see if I bend this back, it's now bending that back. Okay, so I could set up an IK system on this, and it would work just the same as any other IK system. So I can go up here to my IK, select it, and select the top joint, and then the bottom joint, and then I would get an IK handle at the bottom. So if I take that and move it, now it's going to bend that way. Okay, so you can see now it's deforming my geometry, and you could use this to basically control any kind of smooth continuous form with a joint system or with a skeletal system. So this is great for controlling characters, for any kind of other thing where you need a smooth deformation and not just a solid rigid hierarchy of something mechanical. This gives you the more organic control using that joint system in order to create a control system for a subdivided or a non-subdivided smooth mesh.